Good morning, friends, and welcome to our Sunday morning Zen service, practice service, whatever you want to call it. We're going to do some chanting, some meditation, not in that order. We'll do some meditation, some chanting, have a little Dharma talk, do a little more meditation. So I'm glad you joined me today, and I hope it sets your Sunday off on a good note. So without further ado, we're going to get started with our opening liturgy. So I'll share my screen here for that. Okay. I pay homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Fully Enlightened One. I pay homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Fully Enlightened One. I pay homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Fully Enlightened One. And now for the three refuges. I take refuge in the Buddha. May all sentient beings understand the Great Way profoundly and bring forth the Bodhi mind. I take refuge in the Dharma. May all sentient beings deeply enter the Sutra treasury and have wisdom vast as the sea. I take refuge in the Sangha. May all sentient beings form together a great assembly, one and all in harmony. Now for the Bodhicitta prayer. With a wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. And the 6 perfections. As bodhisattvas, we seek to practice generosity, discipline, patience, exertion, meditation, and wisdom. Okay, so with that, we will begin our first 15 minutes of seated meditation. Or as I've said before, whatever type of meditation you're up to this morning. If you're out for a walk, if you're doing the dishes, if you're still lying in bed, it's all good. Meditation is in the mind. It's not in the butt cheeks. So whatever type of meditation you practice is good. So just make it count, okay? So I'll do seated meditation, but you're welcome to do any type you need. Okay, that was the quickest 15 minutes of my day. Okay, so now we will recite the Gata on the opening of the sutras. So let me share my screen with you again real quick. I think, if my screen will let me. Here we go. All right, Gata on the opening of the sutras. This Dharma, incomparably profound and minutely subtle, is rarely encountered, even in hundreds of thousands of millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, hold and maintain it. May we completely realize the true mind of all Buddhas. All right. So, now's my time to talk. And I have been contemplating all day long, what do I want to talk about? What do I want to talk about? Because, of course, it's morning for you, but it's evening here for me in Vietnam. And not only evening, it's 9:21 at night. So I've really had all day long. And so I'm going to tell you about my day a little bit, and it'll segue into what I want to talk about. So I see that I have a little video that I want to share with you, and I see it's not popped up just yet, and I will pop that up here in a moment. But anyway, let me tell you about my day. So we met a monk from Saigon here when we were in Bodh Gaya. And my wife has been in contact with him constantly since then. He's been a very nice young monk. He's, I don't know his age, about 30, I would say. He's just been very engaging and just a pleasant soul. And so the day after we left Bodh Gaya, they had a international Tripitaka chanting ceremony that was going to start the very next day and last for about a week. And so they received a very nice copy of the Vinaya Pitaka that was given to them, and it's all in Pali. Just a little bit of it's in English, the introduction, and some other stuff is in English. And he doesn't read English or Pali at all. I read only a little bit of Pali, but clearly I read English. And so he messaged my wife and said, "Hey, would your husband like this?" And so she asked me, and I'm like, "Of course I would." So he brought me this beautiful wrapped version. I unwrapped it today earlier when he gave it to me, but it is just absolutely beautiful copy of the Vinaya Pitaka. Anyway, so to make a long story short, he had contacted us and said, "Hey, let's meet up." One of the things that I had been meditating on and kind of hoping for when I was in Bodh Gaya was that I would find an opportunity for me to have my own temple in Vietnam. And the day he got back, a monk that he knew who was kind of like the abbot of several rural temples contacted him and said, "Hey, I have too many places. I can't serve them all. I have a very rural one in a province called Binh Phuc. That's about 2 provinces away from where we are here in Saigon. If you want to come take a look at it, I'd be happy to give it to you. I'll just deed it to you, and it can be yours. You can run it." So he says, "Okay, well, how about I go take a look at it?" And so he called us up and said, "Hey, do you want to go with me? We'll take a look at it." So that's what we did today. We had a car take us with another family of devotees that he knows. And we all went to Binh Phuc. We stopped at 3 different temples today, plus the one that he went to take a look at that was kind of out in the countryside, kind of tucked behind a rubber tree plantation. And beautiful sight if you like to meditate. And that's what I asked him. He doesn't speak much English, so I used my wife as a translator, but I kept asking him, what type of monk are you? Do you just do Pure Land? Do you do kind of the typical Vietnamese eclectic form of Zen Pure Land mix? And I finally got to the bottom of it, that's what he does. He is ordained in the same historical order that most people would know of as like Thich Nhat Hanh is in. Chuk Lam, I think it's called in Vietnamese. And then he also, that's very eclectic with Pure Land. So I got an idea and I said, well, this is a wonderful place if you want to spend time meditating. I'm not sure there's many lay devotees in the neighborhood because there's not really a neighborhood. There's a couple of houses down a dirt road. But this is out in farm country, rubber tree plantation country. And there was a durian plantation, durian orchard not too far away too, that we could see when we were walking. So we got to visit these cool temples. He brought us some, like I said, he brought me that cool gift from Bodh Gaya, the book that he received from the chanting event that he attended. And I just thought it was wonderful. But where am I getting at with this? So like I said, we visited several temples, and the last one we visited, we actually ate lunch at. But it was a monastery for female monks, nuns, for lack of a better term that we don't really have in English. Bhikshunis, right? And what a beautiful, beautiful temple it was. And they were so caring and so serving. And I don't mean to me and to my family and the other folks that were there. We got to see them in action. And it made me decide that's what I wanted to talk about today, was the importance of women in Buddhist clergy, especially in Asia, where women are the primary attendees of temples. They are the primary practitioners of the Buddha Dharma in a family. They teach the children. They keep the husbands on the straight and narrow, so to speak, and they involve their families in the Dharma. And so it only makes sense then that in societies such as that, especially Asian societies, the role of female monks is so important. And of all the temples we visited today, this monastery for the nuns was the biggest. It was the most beautiful. But like I said, I got to see the nuns in action. So I want to share something with you here. Let me pull it up. I took a little video. Well, first of all, I'm going to share some photos with you. Just the one thing that stood out to me the most. We walked into the temple, and like all Vietnamese temples, there's a front big Buddha hall, always. And that's always the largest part of the temple in a Vietnamese temple. And then when you walk around to the back, there's always like a doorway to the back. And when you walk around to the back, that's usually where there are statues of the Bodhisattva Kshitigarbha. And it's where they have memorial services for families who have had family members pass on. They have little plaques on the wall. Some of them actually have urns in there. They have memorials set up on tables for people who have recently passed by. And of course, Kashiti Garba statue in there is intended to, invoke the spirit of passage through the Bardo, passage through that transitory period between death and rebirth. But this temple, as you see here, also had this beautiful statue and relief, like bronze relief on the wall of a bhikkhuni. And so I asked one of the monks there, one of the nuns. I asked her, I said, Sukho, who is this? And she said, this is Mahapajapati, the Buddha's stepmother, aunt. And it was the most beautiful tribute to great women in Buddhism that I had ever seen in a temple. And I took a picture of it, and I took another picture of it from an angle. I'll share that one here with you now too. It just touched my heart. And I decided, well, that's obviously what I got to talk about, because it was, I don't know, it just screamed at me that how important this is in our religious tradition, that we have devoted, wise female monks who've realized their own awakening and then serve the people. What a beautiful thing that is, and it's not often celebrated as much in other religions, I think. But in Buddhism and here in Vietnam, it just will jump out at you when you go to a temple like this. And so it really got me thinking. It got me thinking about Mahapajapati, who you see here in this picture. It got me thinking about the Bhikkhuni Khema. And I'll tell that story about Khema here in just a little bit. It got me thinking about Kisa Gotami, the great stories of women at the time of the Buddha who became fully enlightened arhats. And of course, this was before the Mahayana tradition, where we believe that the higher calling was service, saving all sentient beings as a bodhisattva. But these women epitomized the bodhisattva spirit. And there were some monks here today that likewise epitomized this bodhisattva spirit. I even took a little video of, there was a family who, if I understood correctly, the mother had passed away. And so the son, a daughter-in-law, a child, and maybe it was another son, I couldn't tell, I didn't ask, they were in a service, were there for memorial service. And one of the bhikkhunis was chanting for them and helping them in their devotion, dedication to merit, whatever it was, chanting for their mother who had passed away. Let me try to share that with you here. It's only about a minute long or so, and it will. Whoop! Let me stop it real fast. I gotta share this. Okay. Here we go. So here you see the gentleman in the white shirt, and it was his family member, mother, I believe. And so she's leading the chanting for him. He participates the most. He goes forward first to give offerings to. You see there's Kshitigarbha, and there's the Buddha, probably Amitabha Buddha there next to Kshitigarbha. And then you see the little plaques on the wall here. There's a lay devotee who's here assisting, and you see she's helping the little boy with his offering that he has at his head there. And so then the son gets up and he takes his offering first to the offering table. And then they go through another round, and you see the bhikkhuni here chanting for them. Just lovely. And I see this and I think, what service she is giving. And let me turn that off now, it'll just keep playing. Okay. What wonderful, beautiful service she is providing to this family. It was touching to me. And so as I sat there all day long, and I'm reading sutras and suttas, and I'm reading historical events, and I have my in the car today. I had my Kindle with me, and I have literally dozens and dozens of books on there. As I'm reading through, trying to think of what am I going to talk about? What am I going to talk about? And our last stop of the day was at this beautiful monastery these nuns have set up, and watching them serve the people just was magnificent to me. And I decided that's what I wanted to share, was the Dharma's for everybody, of course, and bodhisattvas serve everyone, and they come in all shapes and sizes, male, female, gay, straight, whatever. Bodhisattvas seek to serve other people, and that's what was reflected to me, and there was nothing better today than seeing that lesson, and I have a great female Zen teacher. I have a great male Zen teacher. And I learned different things from both of them, right? And so I just thought it was so important to highlight them today, to celebrate wonderful women, bodhisattvas. And these nuns that I met today were certainly wonderful bodhisattvas. Now, the story that I wanted to share with you today was the story of Kema. And I don't want to read it to you, I more want to tell you about it. There's a couple of stories about Kema, Khema. And so she was the daughter of a king of one of the local kingdoms in the area where the Buddha traveled. The historical Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha I'm talking about. Anyway, so when she was 18 years old, she was married off as a whatever number, to the concubine, as a concubine, to King Bimbisara, who was known to be a straight mentorer, who was a devout Buddhist, He loved the Buddha, considered the Buddha one of his friends, certainly a teacher. They were apparently close in age to each other. And so Kema, the story says when she came of age, so I don't know if that was 16 or 15 or 18 or whatever, but when she came of age, she was married off to King Bimbisara. And Bimbisara saw that she was a really spiritual, in tune type of person. And so he began to encourage her to go down and visit the Buddha. And she was hesitant because she was known to be very beautiful. And she had heard that the Buddha talked bad about beauty. Of course, the Buddha taught lessons on impermanence. And so he often gave lessons on the impermanence of beauty. And while a young woman might be very beautiful, she gets older and older, and we all get older and older, and wrinkles appear, and the beauty of her hair turns white, and those are the things that the Buddha taught. And so she had heard these things, and she thought, I don't feel comfortable going and seeing this guy. I'm a beautiful young woman, and he's going to talk bad about my beauty. Well, I don't want to go. And her husband, King Bimbisara, kind of brought in minstrels to start singing about the Buddhist teachings and how accepting he was of everyone, and he taught everyone, and blah, blah, blah. And so she finally got up the courage and said, okay, I will go, I will visit. And she went to visit the Buddha. She had an enlightenment experience there while visiting the Buddha. And she immediately decided, I want to join the order. I want to become a bhikkhuni. So she went back to her husband, King Bimbisara, and said, would you let me shave my head, put on an ochre robe, and go join the Buddha's order as a nun? And he said yes. Again, he was a great friend of the Buddha, and he had encouraged Kema to go visit him anyway. I think he knew he could see that this was a future for her. And so she did. And she became a fully enlightened arhat. And then also in the Samyutta Nikaya, there's a sutta specifically about her. And I think it's called the Kema Sutta. And so the sutta goes like this. King Pasenadi came, and he was visiting a part of his kingdom. And he asked his ministers, hey, find me a holy man, an ascetic, a sage, someone wise for me to go and visit while I'm here in this part of my kingdom. And his ministers came back after a day of searching and said, hey, Your Majesty, there's nobody around here like that meets your description. There's no man around here that meets your description, but there is a woman who is known to be very wise, and she is a follower of the Buddha. And she's the one we think you should go see. And so the King Pasenadi said, okay, I'll go visit her. And he went to visit her. And while he was visiting her, he asked her some questions. She says, he asked her, he says, will the Buddha live after he dies? And she said, the Buddha hasn't talked about that. That's not the questions that the Buddha answers. And he says, well, will the Buddha, does he live on eternally? And will he ever be reborn? What happens to the Buddha after he dies? And she says, the Buddha doesn't talk about those things. And then she gave two analogies. She says, Your Majesty, you have wise ministers. Can your wise ministers count and tell me how many grains of sand there are in the Ganges River? And the king said, no, of course not. You know, there's no way to know how many grains of sand there are all along and underneath the Ganges River. So she gave the next analogy. She said, well, let's take a different one then. The ocean is vast. Do you have ministers who can go and start to measure with a bucket how many hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of gallons, buckets of water are in the vast oceans? And the king said, no, there's no way I can do that. There's no way my ministers can figure that out. And she says, so it is with the knowledge of the Buddha. His wisdom, his knowledge, his influence in the cosmos is so great that just as you can't comprehend the number of grains of sand in the Ganges, and just as you can't comprehend the number of buckets of water in the ocean, you can't understand the vastness of the Buddha. And the king says, wow, okay, that was very wise. I appreciate it. And he left. And he bowed to her, as he would have to the Buddha. He bowed, he circumambulated wise Kema, and he left. And then he went on. A few days later, he came to the place where the Buddha was staying, and he went and asked the Buddha. He says, you know, I met one of your monks, one of your bhikkhunis, and I asked her some questions. I'd like to ask you the same questions. And he asked the Buddha the exact same questions, and the Buddha gave him the exact same analogies. And Pasenadi was like flabbergasted. He's like, wow, what a true follower you have in Kema. Because her words were exactly the same as your words were to me today. And the Buddha made a comment that, you know, I wish I could read it to you right now. Let me see if I can pull it up real fast. So the Buddha's comment to her then, oh, I lost it. So I apologize. But let me look one more place real fast. It's really worth hearing. Oh, I don't have it in front of me. Like I said, I was reading a ton of things today. But the Buddha just gave a statement about the enlightenment of Kema and how she had realized all things, and that she was chief among the enlightened of his bhikkhunis. And what a wonderful tribute the Buddha made to her in this sutta, in the Samyutta Nikaya. So again, that's the Kema Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya. I think it's chapter 44 if you want to look it up. What a wonderful, wonderful story about Kema, the chief of all of his bhikkhunis. And then, you know, there are several others. There's a collection of gathas or poems by fully enlightened bhikkhunis called the Therigatha in the Pali Canon. And there's some wonderful poems in there. Some of them are just stories. Some of them will make you laugh about how glad they were to get rid of their washing stick and cooking pot and crazy husband or whatever. There are some great poems in there about these fully enlightened women going forth and living the holy life. So if you're interested, I'd really refer you to those. But I just wanted to say, and I guess in closing of this Dharma discussion, is the bhikshunis and bhikkhunis that serve the Buddhist communities around the world, but I see it especially here, but in America as well. The teachers that I have and have had in the past. And you think some of the most popular or famous American practitioners of Buddhism, or Zen, or Vipassana, or Vajrayana, they are women. And what great teachers they are, and we should celebrate that we have them there to teach us and to serve us as great bodhisattvas that they are. Off the top of my head, I mean, you can't think of great Buddhist teachers in America without thinking of like Pema Chodron, or Sharon Salzberg, or Lama Tsoltrim, Joko Beck. There's so many. I don't want to leave someone out, but just so many published. They publish a lot, reaching out to the people to try to teach them. They hold wonderful retreats. They just, that's the bodhisattva spirit that we have in the women that serve our Buddhist communities. And today it really touched my heart seeing these Vietnamese bhikshunis serving the public. And so I guess I wanted to spend a few minutes today to celebrate them and say thank you. As a recipient of some of that service, of some of those teachings, I have been forever changed, and I am forever grateful. So to my teachers who have led me on the path, I bow to you, and I am very grateful. Okay, we will do our next 15 minutes of meditation now. So grab your seat, grab your sponge if you're going to do dishwashing meditation or whatever it is you're going to do, and we will continue our morning service. Let's see if I can pull up my timer. Well, let me try this again a different way. If not, we'll just forget the timer. We don't need it. I can keep track of it. I do that for you guys, so it's easier, but here, I'll use a different one now. Okay. Time for some together action. So join me if you have the time, space, or inclination as we will chant the Heart Sutra. Make sure this is big enough for everyone to see. There we go. Vamaham Prajna Paramita Hridayam Sutra Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, when practicing deeply the Prajna Paramita, perceives that all five skandhas are empty and is safe from all suffering and distress. Shariputra, form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. That which is form is emptiness. That which is emptiness, form. The same is true of feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness. Shariputra, all dharmas are marked with emptiness. They do not appear or disappear, are not tainted or pure, do not increase or decrease. Therefore in emptiness, no form, no feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no color, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no realm of eyes, and so forth, until no realm of mind, consciousness, no ignorance, and also no extinction of it, and so forth, until no old age and death, and also no extinction of them, no suffering, no origination, no stopping, no path, no cognition, also no attainment, with nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva depends on Prajna Paramita, and the mind is no hindrance. Without any hindrance, no fears exist. Far apart from every perverted view, one dwells in nirvana. In the three worlds, all Buddhas depend on Prajna Paramita and attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Therefore know that Prajna Paramita is the great transcendent mantra, is the great bright mantra, is the utmost mantra, is the supreme mantra, which is able to relieve all suffering and is true, not false. So proclaim the Prajna Paramita mantra. Proclaim the mantra which says Gate gatte para gatte para sam gatte bodhi swaha gatte gatte para sam gatte bodhi swaha gatte gatte para sam gatte bodhi swaha. All right. Now we will do our dedication of merit. All sentient beings are one seamless body and pass quickly from birth to death. We remember those who cared for us and are gone, those who are ill, those who are at war, who are hungry and who are in pain. May they heal and have peace. We especially dedicate our service to Elaine Sue, Sang Pham, Greg Hunt, Ngop Lay, Mylan, and Mason. All beings in the 10 directions, subject to the greed, hatred, and delusions of themselves and others. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones, Bodhisattva Mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, Mahaprajna Paramita. Okay, now we will recite the 4 great vows. Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to save them all. Delusions are endless. We vow to cut through them all. The teachings are infinite. We vow to learn them all. The Buddha way is inconceivable. We vow to attain it. Life and death are of supreme importance. Time passes swiftly by and opportunities to awaken are easily lost. Strive to realize your true nature. Do not squander your time by night or day. Thank you, friends. I appreciate you joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful Sunday ahead of you. We will have a 30-minute Monday morning service, bright and early. So we will do that at 7 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow morning. And then we'll have a Monday evening service as well. So I look forward. I hope you have time to join me then. Set a little time in your schedule for some meditation. So thank you, friends. Again, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you again soon.